Hey everyone, it's Dustin with TechMD, and we are going to be doing something unique today. And hopefully I'll be live streaming this kind of content here shortly with some switchboards and all kinds of crazy stuff. I had no clue you could do what I need to do live, but really I like to do unedited content as much as possible. May take a little bit longer, but today is special because we actually have a customer in-house willing to do an interview. And I'm really excited. We're going to be fixing his Oneplus 8, right? Mm-hmm. Not the 8T or any of those ones. They do quite a bit. So what's your name, sir?
My name is Ian Baker.
Ian Baker. All right. And we are going to go ahead and put this on the heater here. We're going to let that warm up. And while we're waiting for that to warm up, we can show you some other stuff. So just like you can do at home, the customer went ahead and ordered the parts off of Injured Gadget's website. It's really straightforward. You just click on the link in the description. Now, why do you want to order parts from them? First of all, you're going to get your original parts. You can get a 1-year warranty from them. You're going to support me. It really helps me because every time you purchase, they give me a little bit of a kickback. So I really appreciate you doing that here instead of going on Amazon or some sketchy website. You can 100% rely on these guys. They've been open for 10 plus years and hands down best quality. So I'm going to show you if it's possible. Not all phones are like this because I've never opened this phone. We're going to test this part before fully installing so that way we can verify that it's functioning. All right. So we're going to go ahead and open up this part and verify that this phone is not going to be torn apart from the front, which I would assume not. Looks like the connector is going to connect from the inside here, so we're going to definitely have to take off that back panel. All right, so one of the things that we need to start with is removing this piece very carefully. You like to glue it down for whatever odd reason. Let's try something else. Ah, that works. Whoa. Does it have an in camera?
Pardon?
Does it have a fingerprint in camera?
It does, yeah.
Wow. The sensor hole on this is huge. So normally it's just super tiny. I was just working on this phone. Where'd it go? Well, whatever. I'll show you here if I can find it. Man, where did that part go to? Well, anyways, typically the parts are like the cameras are super tiny, and it can read through it. So I'm very curious, like what they do here, because I'm assuming you can see right through it. Oh yeah, I can see right through this. Look at that. Can you see it?
Yeah, that's really cool.
So you can see right through it if you put a light between here. Actually, I can show the audience by doing this. Oops. Come on. There we go. So can you see it?
Yeah.
Not cool? So they're going to be doing stuff like that with our in the future with in-screen front cameras, like where they're actually shooting film, like, you know, selfie shots. So they've already have one phone out, and it's pretty cool. Jerry Rig, everything he did, something along those lines. All right, so we're finally getting nice and warm. I like to use some gloves to protect my hands from burning. So what happened to your Oneplus 8?
I was rock climbing outside, and we had to hike up to where we were going, and it slipped out of my pocket, landed directly on a sharp rock, and kind of broke that screen. It was really tragic.
Wow. And just immediately, like, is it still functioning or is it stopped functioning?
It functions fine, really, which is why
nice.
I've taken so long to finally get it replaced,
But yeah, you can survive without.
yeah, it's not the end of the world, right?
A lot of people they need to replace their their phone right away because their picture, the LCD or their OLED panel, it stops functioning.
Yeah, that actually happened. I had a OnePlus 6T before I had this one, and that's exactly how that phone went out.
Really?
Landed, LCD panel just went kaput.
So what I'm doing, guys, I'm using this iFlex tool to cut the adhesive that is nice and soft for me. I have no clue what's underneath this panel, so I just gotta be careful because if I do cut any cables, that means I'm going to be replacing those cables. So it feels like some thick adhesive right there. As you can see, I can barely put my tool in between there because I'm afraid I might cut some cables if I go too deep in the center of the phone. You never know. So what I'm doing here is just take a look on the inside. I'm popping on this off slowly, making sure there's no cables attached to the back panel. This is a pretty easy phone to not damage, I would say, opening up the back. Just make sure you have that iFlex tool. We're gonna go ahead and put this back on the heater to keep that glue nice and warm. And now, let's see what kind of screws we got. It looks like 00 screws, but we really just need to take this out here and disconnect it. It's always in your best interest to disconnect the battery on your phone when tearing it apart. But if you decide to proceed without doing that, I'll show you exactly how to do that real quick. Just make sure your phone is turned off. If you know your phone is not turned off, then you definitely want to disconnect that battery. So we're gonna go ahead and just remove these Phillips screws. So you broke your 6T, but you never got it fixed?
No, I just replaced it. It was about 2 years old at that point, so I just replaced it with the OnePlus 8.
I ask people this all the time. So if you're got in a car accident in a brand new car, would you just go buy a new one?
I mean, ideally, but no.
Of course, we try to get the insurance claim and get it fixed.
Right.
A lot of times people don't realize they need to just replace the battery to speed up your phone.
Really?
Yeah. Your phone starts going slow and starts lagging after a certain amount of time. And this is not the correct screen that I can tell, because this cable here comes around.
Yeah.
And I don't see where it connects unless it's underneath here. This is interesting. Oh, you know what? It might be. Interesting. Okay, I'm gonna go focus on removing the battery here first. I've never seen a phone design quite like OnePlus. They're always so unique. They actually have the kit. I think they have the cable hidden under the charge dot connector.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past them.
So yeah, you know, phones are designed to start crapping out between 1.5 years to 3 years, and replacing the battery will make your phone feel like brand new again. You don't actually have to upgrade. Just call a professional and get it fixed. Now, if your phone is broken and you don't want to pay a professional tons of money to get your phone fixed, because these phones are not cheap to fix, then it can make sense to go ahead and just upgrade. But you gotta really think, I mean, what is this phone, 700-ish?
Around.
Yeah, so, and that phone would have been around 200, 250 probably to fix. I'm not 100% sure. And then popping in a new battery would be probably another $20 to $30. And that's hiring a professional. And if you did it yourself, it could be even more of a savings. But, you know, obviously fixing your phone is not for everybody.
It's a lot of small parts.
But if you think about it, you know, you're at maximum $300 versus a $700 new phone, and that old one has all your data and you don't have to reprogram everything. So I don't know, for me is like, if I didn't have to have always the newest phones, then it makes more sense just to keep your old one instead of upgrading often. But if you have the money to burn, then why not? So right now here, I'm just unscrewing all these screws here and just slowly prying this up very carefully. Come on. See, anything caught in here? Nothing that I can see. Just this screw does not want to loosen up, maybe. Let's tighten it and loosen it. Come on. Jeez. It's definitely that screw that's giving me hassle. There we go. Wow. What a beast of a screw. All right, so we can see our battery connector here. So we're just gonna take a plastic tool and loosen that bad boy. So we know for sure this phone is not gonna be turning on at all during our repair process. Now we gotta disconnect these series of cables. And it looks like the port is definitely screwed down here. And I think I don't have to remove the other one. We'll find out. And disconnect. So how long have you been a OnePlus fan?
Ever since I've had a phone. I got a dumb phone when I got into middle school, and of course, being young and dumb and looking at all the cool technology out there, I sort of got attached to OnePlus because I liked the idea of the value proposition. And it took me a while from there to actually buy in with the OnePlus 6T, but I love that phone. And I love this one too. They're both absolutely fantastic, and I really enjoy them a lot.
What? So the OnePlus 6T was your first OnePlus phone?
Yes, I've had other smartphones before that.
I can't remember what my first OnePlus was. I think I had the OnePlus One. No, I didn't, because that was on the custom order. It was OnePlus 3T or something like that. Then I had the 7, and absolutely thought it was the most amazing phone with the pop-up camera.
Yeah.
So, and then of course my newest phone is the Samsung Z Flip, because I thought it was really compact and cool to have something that cool. And so I always like going with unique technology, not always the cheapest. You know, something more like, hey, this is special. All right, so what we did here was just disconnected these cables, as you can see here. And now we're going to try to pry this board up very carefully. It looks very tender. Oh, you know what? I bet there is a SIM tray down there. Yeah. I always look for those things. This must be the SIM tray holder. Man, this thing has just technology loaded in it everywhere, it seems like. But in my opinion, OnePlus can be, unfortunately, engineered not the best when it comes to repairability.
So kind of like the phone equivalent of a BMW.
Yeah, probably. Oh, see, there's our little hidden cable. So now we can finally disconnect this cable. My goodness. Let's see if we can get this connected without having to do anything else and leave the charge port disconnected. We'll see. I would assume so, but maybe not. Power button is on the right side of the phone.
Yes, sir.
What's that big button over here?
That's the volume.
So, okay. I thought that was the volume there for a second. So
yeah.
There's the switch. There's the power button. Okay.
You get the power button, the alert slider. There you go.
And as you may not see because of the plastic here, we'll go ahead and remove it. You can see the phone booting up. We'll put that plastic back on here in a second. Oh, how did that boot up with that not being connected? That's funny. Let's do that again. That's interesting. Maybe it had some residual power in the board. I've never seen that before. What do you think of this?
That's really cool.
Like booting up your phone. Sometimes I have long blunt cables and I show people and they're like, whoa. I'm like, yeah, can you use your phone with just the screen in your hand?
That's really cool.
Yep.
It's nice to see. Finally get that bit replaced.
Yep. So if you bought the frame, you'd have to remove the battery, motherboard, and all these little tiny components. And I'll tell you, it's something you don't want to do. Buying the screen would be ideal. Now, if your frame is heavily damaged, buy it with the frame if it's available. I think it was only the screen available on Android Gadgets, right?
I didn't look for the frame, but yeah, I just got the screen. So.
And what did you pay for the screen?
It was $140.
$140, and that was in end of January 2021. And what was was that with shipping?
That was without shipping.
And so what was with shipping?
I did the 2-day FedEx shipping, and it was only $10.
$10 all the way from Georgia. I think that's a pretty good deal. You get your parts fast. And what was it for? I think it was like overnight was $20.
Something like that.
Yeah. So really something really good. So you guys, as you can see here, you can get your parts pretty quickly. And if you're not confident about doing the repair yourself, please still order from there and then bring it to a local repair tech who's willing to do this repair. And show them my video. Say, hey, if you don't know how to do the repair, watch TechMD's video, because that's the whole point of this video, is to show the other technicians how to fix the device here. I think you would. No. What you would swipe up to? Is it swipe up?
It's already swiped up. If the numpad is there.
Well, this is the emergency section.
That was it. Now you're in. That's really weird.
Scorpion, huh?
A little Frankenstein phone.
Yep. So you definitely want to test everywhere that you can, guys. And just make sure you don't touch that inner panel that I set loose. Okay, so it does seem to be functioning. For whatever reason, it wasn't on that emergency. So just want to double check, but you can check further actually, because this part is expensive and this phone is not the easiest to fix. So you could do your keyboard here too, and just make sure all the keys are going to be functioning. So it looks like it's a really clean, good screen. So we're going to go ahead and kick it off. And go ahead and just disconnect your power. Come on. So are you originally from Utah?
Sort of, technically.
I feel like the same. I've been here since I was 8, but it's like back and forth. So, where'd you originally born?
Yeah, I spent all of my childhood, about 10 years of it, in Las Vegas.
Oh, okay.
And then I moved up to Provo, and I've been here ever since. And I was in Kansas for like 1 year for college, but
you didn't go the whole
Utah.
BYU there, sitting right in front of you, huh?
No, I'm not a big fan of BYU.
Yeah, I don't blame you. They got a lot of weird rules.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, living just down the street from any college town is enough to drive somebody crazy.
Yeah,
So.
I bet. Well, it looks like my light has become useless here. Oh well. I got one of my lights that I have that's just not as good. It's going to go back to Best Buy. Now, his screen was completely good, right? Like, there was no
fine.
touch issues. Now, there are going to be a ton of people asking me online, and I'm sure that crossed your mind as well. Why can't we just separate the glass and put a new piece of glass on? Well, the main reason is because you have to have the actual glass available, which they're fairly hard to find, let alone the screen. Then you have to have something to remove that successfully off that frame without breaking this very, 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 very thin OLED. As you can see, it's just ultra thin. I don't know if you took a look at that. Okay? And so it's kind of a little bit flexible. And then after you remove all that, then you have to fuse and bond a new piece of glass onto that successfully. And so that's why there's very few people in the United States doing Samsungs and Apples. Most companies don't do that because it takes a long time. So the reason why they only do Samsungs and Apples is because they're very popular, and also, you know, they can get all the jigs and molds and everything else ready to go, and you can train staff. But if you have a random phone that is not very common and people don't really break it very often because it's not very common, you're not going to run into very many phones like this. So how are you supposed to learn how to do this properly and give someone a good price on top of it? You don't. And that's why glass only does not exist for the Oneplus. Now, it still does exist for Apple and Samsung, but most of that stuff's moved to China because the labor rate is so high and it's barely worth it. I've used to do glass separation many years ago, and it's a lot of work and it's a pain in the butt, and I'd rather do other cool stuff like filming YouTube. So that's why I think there's maybe 4 to 10 actual companies in Utah, or not in Utah, excuse me, in the United States that separate the glass on Apples and Samsungs. But there's none here that I know of in Utah. So it's a lot of work either way.
Oh man, I mean, it looks like a lot of work. So.
Yep. So what we want to do is just get this hot to the touch. And if it fights you separating it, then it might need a little bit more time. But yeah, unfortunately, we have to break this display off, and there's no saving it. There's no money for it, nothing. The other option would be to put a new frame on and see if someone's willing to separate it and fuse and bond it, but like I said, you're not gonna find anybody. So we're gonna go ahead and start separating it. We're gonna watch out for those cameras. So I'm just putting my finger there. I'm just wearing some latex gloves to help not burn me as much. It does suck to get burned. And I don't know what's in the center here, so I am not going to dig right there. So I'm just gonna go over the ear speaker and just keep on digging, and then I'm gonna bend the tool up a little bit around that camera to make sure I'm not cutting any kind of camera whatsoever. Let's move this out of the way. And it's right there. I can already see the OLED just broke. This is why you definitely want to test your new screen. Make sure it's functioning. I like to use the iFlex tool because it works best around broken glass. If you use a suction cup, well, it doesn't really work. Wow, that is cool. Never seen anything like that. I'm gonna come look at the sensor. I don't know if you're fascinated by tech like I am.
It's pretty interesting.
So, see that shiny sensor right there? That is your fingerprint sensor. And it's huge. And it's crooked. It's kind of weird how it's crooked. Maybe because, you know, you're right-handed and you go like this, but who knows? All right, so somehow I have to clean this thing off without touching that. Oh, this is gonna be fun. As you can see, the adhesive where it runs I use T7000, guys. You can also get that at Injured Gadget's website. What do you think? If you're brave enough, you think you could do something like this?
If I was brave enough.
Maybe if it's an old phone and, you know, if you break it, you break it. You don't have to worry about your data. Nothing like that, right?
Yeah. Well, I've worked on cars before, but this is a bit small for me.
Right, yeah, it is. It does get a little tiny. I was fixing a Google Pixel 4 XL, and the threshold of putting the new screen on is ultra thin. And we're talking like the size of a resistor, which is
Tiny.
yeah, so see one of those resistors?
Yeah.
One of those there? Okay. A piece of glass was sitting there on the screen underneath, and I missed it somehow. And when I went to press it down on my phone presser to, you know, seal it up, it cracked the OLED. And that was a very sad time for me. I had to overnight some more parts because I only had one of them. The guy had to live without his phone for about 12 hours. But that kind of stuff can happen with these new screens, guys. So you need to absolutely make sure that there is no glass particles on this. And I would go as far as taking some alcohol pad to this and cleaning it, but just be careful not to hit that sensor or this front camera that I'm weaving around right now. So I'm just picking off the old glue. Right now, and I'm hoping I don't stab myself with some piece of kind of glass. You can take a metal tool and grind it like this. Let's see here. But I kind of like to feel what I'm doing. Now, obviously I don't want to put a fingerprint on that sensor, so I'm going to stop right about here and start using my metal tool. So what do you do for work?
Right now?
Yeah.
Nothing. I'm currently unemployed. But I somehow keep finding more and more ways to make money, whether it be selling cars or, you know, whatever just happens to fall in my lap.
Didn't you say mechanic work or something you were doing?
I have done mechanic work in the past.
Oh,
but
okay.
I'm trying to move away from working in auto shops. It's just not my personal scene.
Was that your previous work?
Yeah. I've worked in 2 automotive shops, and I kind of don't like working on cars. I can.
Yeah.
I can work on cars, but it's just not my favorite. And I'm young and dumb, so I can afford to make drastic changes to my future plans at the moment. So I'm sort of in that process right now.
Right. Well, we all gotta make some choices. Like for me, I feel like I'm stuck in Utah because
I feel that.
Get the right amount of employees, but they still got to be all babysit, and then I lose them all because of COVID. And yeah, so I feel like I'm restarting and trying something new. I've given up on YouTube several times, and I'm back at it again because I really do enjoy YouTube and teaching people how to fix their devices. Plus, you know, of course, I like making money, right? Doesn't everybody?
Who doesn't? Money is great.
So you're kind of doing like the whole entrepreneurial side hustle kind of thing, huh?
Yeah, I'm just going as the winds change, you know. Hopefully something will stick.
Right. Well, you never know. You never know where life will take you. Certainly I didn't think I was going to be doing this. I figured I'd be some kind of entrepreneur, but you know, you never know, because entrepreneur is tricky.
It's a risky job for sure.
Yeah, exactly. It takes a lot of time to hone your craft and hone your what you want to do. So right now I'm just playing the T7000, and I'm going to skip that microphone hole that I see up there. So I don't want to get too close to that. And I'm sure I'll have some residue. That's not a problem. Residue will not affect the performance. We'll just clean it up. Looks like we got just a tad of extra adhesive residue right here. So it doesn't give me much room to put adhesive. If you guys can see what I'm doing here, it's so tiny. Come on. But if we want a good seal on it, you certainly want to do this. If you don't care about a good seal, then don't do it. All right, well, let's put some extra. What's coming out? Go ahead and wipe this nice and clean. And just enough where it doesn't get in the speaker hole or the microphone hole. Okay. So they had adhesive all around the camera, but I'm not going to get too close to that camera. That's as close as I'll get, because once I start smashing it, it probably will start going towards that camera. And we're just painting on the new T7000 glue. Was it about a 40-minute trip today?
Yeah.
From Provo?
I was expecting bad traffic, but it actually wasn't that bad.
That's how many people don't fix Onepluses here in Utah, guys. I think you told me you called several people, and only one person said they would be willing to do it, right?
Yeah. So there's one other besides you, and they quoted me, well, the same as you before you offered me this this little tidbit, but.
Really? They said the same price? Oh, surprising. What did they tell you how fast they could get the part?
No, they didn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they were gonna charge me $260 to replace the screen.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
a little bit more.
Yeah.
But not as far.
No.
Were they in Provo or Orem?
I think Orem was. I can't even remember what it was.
Probably Mint Mobile.
Something.
They do all kinds of unique stuff, and they're good. They're a good company for sure. Not very many companies are willing to tackle a new phone.
Yeah. Well, a new phone and a new Oneplus phone at that. It's the double whammy.
Yep. So, once again, we're gonna be careful not to touch those cameras. I'm weaving the cable in first. I'm lining it up. I'm trying to line it up down below first, because all the sensitive stuff's up top. Just keep your fingers as close as you can. And check your alignment down here. And then slowly put this down, because you don't want to move this screen around too much. Check your alignment as you're going down. Looks good. Okay, now that you put it down, go ahead and put the plastic back on. Protect it from scratches and whatnot until you hand it to the customer or yourself, but you don't want to scratch it on your pad just in case you got some glass shards. Go ahead and connect it, and if you're unconfident of what you just did, go ahead and test it. I'm pretty confident, so I'm going to go ahead and proceed to assemble everything. Okay, so what we're doing here is just going in at this angle to get this in properly. There we go. Putting that in. Plugging this one in. Don't know what these are, but probably something to do with the camera sensor. Alright, so this part we want to weave these cables through. I would love to know where my other tweezers are. Who knows? Get this connected. So you're gonna eye it up and then press down carefully. It needs to click in. So if it doesn't, adjust it with the tweezers and move them back, and then hold the cable down until you feel like you're over this little tiny, ultra tiny connector. This usually connects your Wi-Fi or your cellular to the frame, which gives you signal. There we go, and we heard a nice click on that one. You know it went in. This one has a little metal bracket that we can weave right through this little clasp, and that clicks as well, but it may not be perfectly lined up, and it certainly is not. So I have to push, once again, push it back a little bit, and then you hear a click. Boom. Okay, so that's connected. Everything is connected good. We're gonna go ahead and click the battery on and pop these, screw these all down. Those are a little bit stressful to get those tiny connections in. You got shaky hands, forget about it. My hands feel like they're starting to get a little bit more shaky over the years. Yeah, I'm terrible at phones though. I'm always upgrading every year. And I have 2 phones, so it's 2 upgrades every year. Oh, you know what? I did miss a screw. It's that bottom one. Not all every screw is important, and if you lose a screw, it's typically okay. It happens to me. Probably 1 in 10 phones I'll lose a screw. And if I can replace it, great. If not, it's not a huge deal. But ideally you don't want to be losing screws, because this screw here holds down the charge port when you plug things in. So it's kind of important to have that one in there. Some screws have a purpose and others really don't. Just to hold something in when it absolutely doesn't. So you can always beg, borrow, and steal from different sides of the phone if you feel like that screw doesn't have as importance as the one that you needed, like right there. Let's say I lost that screw. I would have probably just stole like that screw or something. All right, getting there, getting there. 1,000 more screws to screw in. And this is the most boring part to customers, is like, or people watching, I should say. They gotta watch me screw all these screws in, but it really gives people a realistic picture on how long it takes to fix your phone. Really, without all this video recording, it maybe would have saved 10 minutes with messing with the cameras and stuff, if that. So I can't really repair it any faster. I could have possibly shortcutted it and did without the removing or disconnecting the battery. But I wanted to show disconnecting of the battery because it's the proper thing to do. And considering the phone is still fairly new, I'd rather not risk bricking the phone or shorting the phone. So the proper thing always is to disconnect the battery. All right, I'll put the SIM chip back in, gold connector up, and we're gonna do it that way. All right, let's check the screen out and see how we did. And so what we're doing here is checking for alignment and making sure it's good, and making sure there's no shards in the screen, because it'd be definitely poking through. If it is, you're going to carefully try to remove it, but it looks like it's just fine. All right, I'll go ahead and just turn it off again, why not? So, just pulling this off the hot pad, it looks like it has enough adhesive to reuse it and reseal it. But you can go ahead and dig this all off. The only problem with digging off adhesive off of your phone is that you can scrape up the back glass and make it look really ugly. So I try not to do that as much as possible and reuse this seal. But if you have chunks of glue missing in your phone or on that back glass, then you want to fill that in with the liquid, or with the T7000. But yeah, so basically I'm using this clamp pressure, which you can find this on the Injured Gadgets website, or you can use like 10 pounds of weight on top of your phone. So put it on a nice, clean, perfectly flat surface. You could even put like a piece of paper on it, put it flat down on its glass, and then go ahead and put maybe a book and a 10-pound weight or a case of water or something like that, and just leave it sitting there for 5-10 minutes. And that should seal up the front and back really good and nice and tight. But yeah, you guys have already seen that turn on and it fully functions, so that's it. I appreciate the interview. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
And yeah, everyone, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you liked the video, and more of these videos are coming in the future. Thanks, guys.